Can you tell me how your Christian values work with your counseling experience and beliefs?
Well, it's important to me to understand that psychology is extremely important in working with couples and clients with a spiritual connection. God is also the author of psychology. He's the author of all knowledge. So psychology is a gift, I believe, also from God to help us understand our inner life, our relationships, and help in treatment and healing.
All right, let me try and narrow this a little bit. A couple comes to you and one of the partners is engaged or has engaged or is engaging an extramarital relationship. How will you bring religion into their problem?
Okay. I believe in most cases when couples come to me, they understand the value, or they have the value within them, that marriage is a commitment to monogamy. I often think about and help couples think about from the very beginning that an infidelity occurrence is a trauma. But if a trauma happens and it's a severe trauma, you're likely to have post-traumatic stress disorder type symptoms, which you almost always see in couples when there's an affair. And the first stages after a trauma like this is to just help them stabilize the home, the relationship, if there's children, to make sure everybody's being cared for and things are stable before they can sit down and just start talking to each other and work towards some healing. And the second stage I lead them through is to sit together, and I coach them to talk about what happened, why it happened, to try to get to a story or a narrative that they can both agree to as to why this happened in our relationship. The third stage is after the couple has a pretty good idea together that why this happened, there's confession and forgiveness. And I think, confession needs to come with before forgiveness, or the forgiveness won't probably happen.
So the issue, again, is Christian forgiveness. Forgiveness is a big part of Christianity. How does Christian forgiveness interplay in this issue with you?
Jesus on the cross forgave everyone. That was a general forgiveness, but and that's what I guess has to happen in a person's heart, that I forgive you, even if you don't confess, even if you aren't sorry. But that's a very difficult thing to do, but it does come from a spiritual strength inside. Where does that power come from? I believe it comes from the Spirit of God within a person. The Spirit of Jesus enables us to, I believe, be forgiving and have compassion for one another, even in the face of hurt.
What do you think of that Christian commitment with a natural tendency not to have monogamy?
Clearly, the teaching is that our natural tendencies aren't always in our best benefit. We call it sin, temptation. We do make a commitment for our best, it's in our best interest, but we don't always realize that because of the temptation and sin around us and within us to go against what's in our best interest and to go against the guidelines and rules for our life, which a good example would be the Ten Commandments. We have a tendency to not want to go according to those, the human natural tendency. So I think this difficulty with monogamy is just one example of that. That's just one commandment, the sixth commandment, which sometimes Christians elevate the sixth commandment over all the others, but it's just one of 10.
And so as a good Christian, and you can put this in your own words, you have to override your natural tendency as opposed to your essence of obligation?
That's what,
Put your words.
yeah, that's what would be in our best interest, and that's what we know God wants us to do. To override our natural tendencies and do what we know what God wants us to do and what would be in our best interest. But we also know that in one sense that's impossible. It's impossible because we're not perfect. So that's why forgiveness is so important. In my personal faith is in God as a loving God and forgiving God, that the chief characteristic and trait of God is that He is love. And so my tendencies to be narcissistic or self-absorbed, He accepts me as I am, and that's a wonderful thing, and forgives my sin and my failures, and because He is so compassionate and so full of grace toward me, that gives me the power and the motivation to be compassionate and forgiving toward myself and toward others around me.